Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all. It's Bear here. And I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel, A Box of Knowledge. A channel I'm creating not just to bring the awareness around the lived reality trauma creates, adoption and removal trauma, but I also want to bring what I've learned not only through my own personal experiences as I'm an adoptee, but also what I've learned over many years as a practitioner and as an advocate in these areas. Now, this video is going to get a little confronting for those that have gone through these experiences. But like I said in the title of this video, of how many layers of dysfunction need to be placed upon a child, an infant, before they will fail at life, before no matter what they do and how hard they try, they will fall. That is a question that everyone needs to ask, because it's a point of view of viewing children in adoption and foster care that come from that background to understand why we create the lives that we do, why we respond to things the way we do, and why we become what we become. Some take it to a point of very destructive lives, harming lots of people. Some implode and self-destruct. One of the key understandings of this is what I'm saying in this video is how many layers are placed upon an infant to resolve in their life before they've taken their first breath. And how many layers does it take before that child is overwhelmed from day one and has really no chance? Because the type of placement in adoption or long-term care needs to be so phenomenally great, with so much understanding and awareness and knowledge by those raising these children, that the chances of that happening are so slim. Yes, there are examples, but out of the millions of adoptions in the world, they number on, you can count them on a couple of pairs of hands. They are never, they are used as an example to dismiss the dysfunctionality that we try to live with and we try to build our lives from and we try to make sense from, to justify that it's all our fault. And that is one of the key things that this video, I hope, portrays. When children go through trauma, when children go through harm, when children are dismissed, when they're trying to understand that harm that they're trying to make sense of, we make it our fault. And that can play out in numerous destructive ways, some externally, which we're seeing in teenagers now, and the harm that they're doing. The ones running around with knives and machetes doing home invasions and horrific things. That is an acting out from a place of great harm that has broken them. They've become the abuse that they experienced in full embodiment. And my concern is the resources to try to heal them, society doesn't have. And we have this situation where we need to break human rights to protect society, to deal with it. But they were created, and that's one of the driving forces behind me making this video. Because also in discussions I've had with colleagues and friends, we're trying to come up with an idea of how do we address the violence in teenagers in our society today and the base that they've come from. And so many come from broken families, and so many come from families relating to foster care and adoption. And this whole cycle. And it comes down to the question of how many layers do you place upon an infant and a very young child before you break them? Before their path to harming themselves or harming others is set. And as society wrestles with what to do with minors that are doing horrifically violent acts, We need to not condone those acts and remove their accountability. No, we need to 100% hold them accountable. But we also need to understand how to prevent it from becoming more embedded in our society generationally. Because these teens have kids. They're too young and violent, too drug addicted and so forth to raise them. They are removed and placed in the system. This cycle is growing exponentially year after year after year. The profitability in the world of placement and adoption is so great that the systems of government and the systems of religious institutions do nothing to prevent it, because they're making hundreds of millions of dollars annually from this industry of removed children, with the label of we're awesome, we're doing something great, we're taking abused children and finding them, loving families, forever home, all that crap. We need to understand the cycle that's feeding it and creating it. We need to understand how we're generationally creating these aspects in our society to numbers now that it is so dysfunctional. This is not where you've got 1 in 1,000 that comes from this base. You've got the majority are coming from this base. And the statistics that cross my email inbox terrify me of where this is headed and what we're experiencing now, and the next cycle, which is going to be a lot worse than what we have right now. And this won't magically fix themselves. So again, how many layers can we place upon an infant or a child before we break them? And the layers I'm talking about is, if you were born from, your biological mother in the wombs taking drugs or drinking alcohol, doing this sort of stuff, crosses placenta, alters how your brain develops, alters your neurophysiology, alters how your body works with adrenaline and so forth, alters how you develop in regards to being able to learn and the physical structures and processes around it. Society goes, you're ADHD, you're ADD, we're going to pump you full of these medications, you have to take them for the rest of your life. This is a layer placed upon a child that didn't ask for any of this crap. They have to make sense of it. Then you have an infant growing in the womb of a mother who's getting beaten by her partner every day, getting kicked in the mother's womb and so forth through domestic violence. The harm of everything across the placenta, the fear and everything else being removed because the mother can't look after you. You come from that base, that terror that crossed the placenta, the physical injuries caused by the beatings your mother experienced, alters you. And again, that child has to make sense of that. Even if the child is completely unaware of it, there are physical and neurophysiological issues created through that abuse. Then you have those that come from rape. Then you have those that come from incest. And those two go hand in hand, because quite often fathers and uncles will rape daughters or nieces. Nieces get pregnant, kids are removed. But that kid has still got the genetic incapacity. They're not allowed to have children because of what that's created. Another issue and layer placed upon a child to resolve. For me, like in my situation, coming from two mixed race indigenous, never being acknowledged by the culture that they came from, never being able to prove it or be part of it, but also coming from war. My father fought in Vietnam. My mother was a nurse, and so forth and so forth. Creating these situations that create layers that need to be resolved. How many layers is a statement that I want you guys to listen to and take on board through this. My life was forever altered because of what I tried to make sense of and what I was placed in. There were layers of dysfunctionality with those that chose to adopt me, that I was supposed to fix and fulfill their deficits, again placed upon me to resolve. I know so many others, and it always becomes our fault. There's something wrong with us. Society views us as something wrong with us because we come from a demographic where we were removed, or we were taken, or we were relinquished. We are less than. And society does see us as that. I don't care what people say. Because when pressured, we are dismissed. We are not given the same value of thought or understanding as others raised by biological family. So again, how many layers of dysfunction can you place upon a child before you break them? I've said that so many times through this video because I want that understood, and I want that the base of consideration to come from. When we start to have to make the decisions that we're going to make in our societies in the future because of the level of dysfunctionality of the teenagers we have created. We're facing one of the largest removals of children for placement in Western society that we've ever seen. Because the majority of teenagers now are so dysfunctional that they will never have the capacity to be, viable parents. And as that plays out, that dysfunctionality grows. And because we're enabling them, they're not being held accountable. Teens are released on bail an hour or two after committing horrific offenses and so forth and so forth. We're embedding this behavior that is creating a situation where so many children are going to be removed. So many children are going to be removed. It's going to replicate, like the eras of 60 Scoop and so forth. So many children are going to be removed. That we need to have this understanding to be able to prevent it from escalating. Because each one of those children have so many layers stacked against them that they are going to have to be understood to heal and resolve. Otherwise, those layers will break them. And the cycle continues. Or this either the cycle of harming others or the cycle of harming ourselves. A hard video, I know. But I thank you guys for your time. I thank you guys for your patience. And I hope this video makes sense. Please be mindful. Please be safe. And I'll see you all next time.